Greetings, wanderer. You've just stepped into a softer moment, one where time slows and history whispers. Whether you are settling down after a long day or simply seeking quiet company, I'm glad you found your way here. If you'd like, share where you're tuning in from. Tiny lights on a sleeping earth, joined by curiosity and the quiet of night. And if this little pause in time brings you a measure of peace, feel free to follow along and subscribe. There are countless stories from the past still waiting to be told. Before we begin, take a moment. Let your shoulders drop, just slightly. Let your breathing slow. You don't need to think about anything that happened today. Not your phone, not your inbox, not even the clock. Just the sound of a quiet voice and the rhythm of the past. You're about to step into another world, not one filled with generals or castles, but something more ordinary, quieter, and far more difficult. This is the world of a farmer in 16th century Japan. Not a samurai, not a merchant, not even a village headman. Just a simple rice farmer, caught in the tides of war, taxes, tradition, and the turning of the seasons. You wouldn't last a day, but tonight you don't have to. You only need to imagine. The first sound you hear is not a rooster. It is the crackle of old firewood being stirred to life in the hearth. Someone is already awake, likely your wife or your grandmother, perhaps both. The fire must be coaxed each morning and the water pot set to boil. There is no clock to check, but you know from the color of the air that dawn is close. Outside, the shadows are soft and long, not quite black, but not gray either, the color of cool smoke on a rainy day. Your eyes open slowly. You're lying on a layer of straw, padded by a futon you made last autumn. It's lumpy in places, but your body knows where to lie. You pull the roughed cotton blanket off your legs and sit up. Your back aches, not sharply, but persistently, like a familiar song sung every morning. The ceiling is low, wooden beams stained black from years of smoke. You hear quiet murmurs, not conversation, just movement, fabric rustling, a soft cough, the shifting of bare feet on dry earth. Your home is one room, just one. Everything happens here: sleeping, eating, mending, praying, even birthing children, and sometimes saying goodbye to the dying. In one corner, your youngest son is still asleep, curled tightly. Beside him, your oldest daughter is already tying back her hair. She is only 9, but she works like someone twice her age. There is no privacy, but no one expects it. The hearth sits in the center, dug directly into the packed soil floor. Just a square hole, lined with flat stones and half filled with yesterday's ashes. There is no chimney, only a vent in the thatched roof above, blackened by decades of smoke curling upward and slipping out like a ghost in no hurry. The first job of every morning is to wake the fire. Without it, there is no warmth, no light, no food, no tea. You squat beside the hearth and reach for the basket of kindling. Dried pine shavings, thin twigs wrapped in straw rope. You breathe onto the coals, then blow, gently, slowly, like whispering into the hand of a god. The coals glow, orange and shy at first. Then they begin to bloom. A small flame flickers into life, dancing on the edge of the kindling. You feed it slowly, letting it grow until the warmth kisses your fingers and the smell of wood smoke fills the room. No one claps. No one says, "Good job." It is just another task, done 1,000 times before, and 1,000 more to come.
There is food, though not much. Your family is not starving, not this week, but neither are you full. The rice jar is half empty. You will not open another until next month. So the morning meal is simple. Okoyu, a thin rice porridge, boiled until it's nearly translucent. Your wife adds a pinch of salt, nothing more. Meat is rare, eggs rarer. A bit of pickled daikon is shared between 4 bowls, more for flavor than substance. You eat kneeling, the bowl cupped in your hands. The heat seeps into your palms. You blow gently on the surface, then sip slowly. You eat in silence. Talking during meals is discouraged, not forbidden, but frowned upon. Words are saved for labor, for instruction, for chance in the field. A child coughs again. Your mother frowns but says nothing. The baby begins to cry. Your wife rocks him, whispering softly, rhythmic and tired. Outside, the rooster finally calls, one long cry that echoes across the rooftops. The day has begun. You wipe your mouth with sleeves and rise. Your knees crack. It's still dark enough to need the fire's glow, but you know the sky will turn pink soon. You dress simply. A short underkimono, tied with a cloth sash. Then a noragi, a farmer's robe made from homespun hemp. It's patched in 3 places, blue dye worn thin at the elbows. You tuck your knife into your belt, a simple blade, used more for prying and cutting stalks than anything else. On your feet, straw sandals, woven by your daughter just last week, already fraying at the toes. But they'll do. You sling a sack over your shoulder. Inside, a bento box wrapped in cloth, a wooden spoon, a small flask of tea, and tools for the field, a hand hoe, a sickle, and twine made from stripped bark. You nod once to your family. Your wife bows her head. She'll leave later with the younger children. The baby stays behind with the grandmother. That is the rhythm. You step outside.
The air is cool, still. A faint mist clings to the ground, curling around fence posts and stone paths. You smell pine smoke from nearby chimneys. A rooster calls again, a different one, this time closer. You look around. Your village is small, just 2 winding paths and about 20 homes. Most are built like yours, timber frame, thatched roof, earthen floor. A few have raised wooden boards, but not many. To the north, the shrine sits beneath a cedar tree, its rope hung with strips of white paper fluttering faintly in the morning breeze. The old bell there hasn't rung since last summer. The monk left months ago, and no one has replaced him yet. Still, the shrine is swept clean. Offerings are placed weekly, small bowls of salt, a few grains of uncooked rice, and sometimes sake from the village brewer. You bow as you pass, not deeply but respectfully, just enough to acknowledge the spirits who might still be watching. Others are walking now, too. A neighbor waves, a child trails behind her mother. A group of boys carry buckets toward the stream. You nod, exchange murmurs, keep moving. The path toward the paddies begins where the village ends, just past a stand of bamboo, rustling gently like whispers in a dream. There are no carriages, no soldiers here today, no lords, no silver coins. There is only labor, quiet, ancient, necessary. The earth does not ask for permission. It does not forgive neglect. And so,
like your father before you, and his father before him. You begin again, one foot after the other, toward the water, toward the fields, toward the long day that waits with open arms and calloused hands. You are not alone. All around you life stirs, not grand, not glorious, but enduring. And soon the sun will rise. The path from your home to the rice paddies is a familiar one. It's not long, perhaps 20 minutes on foot, but each step traces a story. The worn earth beneath your sandals remembers every season, every drought, every rainstorm. It winds past stacked firewood, over a narrow footbridge, and down toward the lowlands where the water gathers. You pass a shriveled persimmon tree, its crooked limbs bare now, waiting for spring's return. Crows call from a distant rooftop. A pair of ducks, already in the paddies, shuffle along the water's edge, leaving faint ripples like whispered prayers. On the way, you greet your neighbors with small nods. Not everyone speaks much at this hour. There is work ahead, and everyone feels it in their bones. An older man leans on a wooden hoe. He's in his 60s, ancient by village standards. You bow slightly as you pass. He doesn't speak, but his eyes follow you. The village is not large, but the land it tends is vast. A narrow canal trickles beside you, carrying water drawn from the hills by an irrigation system built decades ago. Stone-lined, moss-grown, and patched with clay, it hums gently as it flows. You can almost hear it sigh. The closer you get to the paddies, the softer the ground becomes. The earth holds water from the last rainfall, and your sandals sink slightly with each step. You don't notice anymore. This is the smell of life. Damp earth, wet straw, clay, moss, and spring rot. It fills your nostrils and settles on your skin. You reach the edge of your assigned field, a rectangular paddy ringed by raised banks and lined with thin bamboo fencing. The water is ankle deep, still, waiting. You remove your sandals and step into the cold.
It's always the same. The first step into the flooded paddy feels like walking into another world, soft, slow, heavy. The mud clutches your feet with quiet insistence. It pulls just slightly, like a child gripping your sleeve. You take your time. Each movement must be deliberate. Too fast, and your balance slips. Too slow, and your foot sinks deep, threatening to trap you. The mud is dense, but forgiving. It supports the body in a strange way, like wet silk. As you walk, you stir up the scent of things buried, rotted straw, broken husks, decayed root systems from last season. This is not unpleasant. It's just old, earthy, real. You plant your feet. You exhale. You begin. The hoe you carry is made of wood and iron. The handle is smooth from years of use, and the head is curved like a crescent moon. It's a simple tool, but elegant in its own way. No gears, no hinges, just leverage and rhythm. You begin breaking the surface, dragging slow furrows through the paddy's muck to loosen the soil. Besides you, another farmer does the same. You don't speak. You've worked together for years, and there's nothing to say that hasn't been said already. Sometimes you fall into rhythm. Scrape, step, turn, scrape again. If the planting season is underway, you'll begin pressing small rice seedlings into the soft mud. each one spaced by practiced instinct. Your fingers know where to place them. They do not think, they only remember. Each seedling is a whisper of promise. Months from now, perhaps, it will feed your children. If the season is earlier, if this is spring, then today is about preparation. Tilling, clearing, spreading compost made from straw and ash. You breathe deeply, sweat already beginning to gather beneath your robe.
Somewhere a voice begins to sing, low, even, wordless at first. Then comes the chant, a farmer's tune, passed down through centuries, used to set the rhythm of the work and to lighten the weight in your limbs. The words are old, faintly Buddhist, but mostly rural in flavor. Invocations to good harvests, to kind rains, to ancestors who protect the seed. Soon, more voices join in. The melody isn't beautiful in the way a noblewoman's flute might be, but it's strong, layered, worn into the fabric of the morning like a well-used path. You hum under your breath as you work. In these moments, time disappears. The rhythm becomes everything. A frog leaps from the grass and disappears into the paddy with a soft plop. A snake, thin, harmless, glides across the water's edge. You don't flinch. These creatures live where you live. They are not pests. They are part of the world. Overhead, a heron watches from a wooden post, still as a statue, waiting for something to move. Dragonflies hover, their wings shimmer. Every creature has its place, and yours is here, bent low to the earth, breathing with the field. You glance at the horizon. The sun is rising now. Warm gold spills over the distant treetops, casting the water into mirror-like brilliance. For a moment, the whole world glows. Then the moment passes. You return to your work.
Some days, someone watches, a retainer from the landlord's estate, perhaps, or a monk tasked with managing the temple's share of the land, or worse, someone from the local militia, making sure you remember who collects the rice. They rarely speak, just watch. Sometimes on horseback, more often on foot with lacquered sandals and a ledger tied at the waist. You bow as they pass, low, respectful. They say nothing, but their presence lingers, like a shadow just out of view. You've done nothing wrong. You're working. But still, your back straightens. Your hands move faster. That is the way. By mid-morning, your robe clings to your skin. The sun climbs higher, and the paddies shimmer with heat. Your back aches. Your calves tremble slightly. Mud clings to your legs, drying in streaks. You pause only briefly, enough to wipe your brow, take a swig of tea, adjust the knot in your sash. Then you bend again. Scrape, step, plant, repeat. In the distance, a bell sounds. One chime, then two. A signal from the shrine, or perhaps from the village headman's house. It marks the time, though not precisely. There is no minute hand, no ticking clock. Time here flows like the canal, steady, muddy, and always forward. You don't count the hours, you count rows.
It's now late morning. The sun, higher and hotter, no longer rests gently on your back. It bears down, steadily, evenly, like a weight that cannot be removed. Shadows grow shorter. The air thickens. The smell of warmed mud, Moist straw and slow ripening algae blends with the tang of your own sweat. You no longer think in hours, you think in rows. One more stretch, then the next, then the bend of your knees again. The rhythm has become everything. The shape of your day has narrowed to the field in front of you, to the slight hypnotic curve of your hoe, the gentle tug of mud at your heels, the wet sting of sweat dripping into your eyes. You do not speak. Even the farmers nearby, who you've known your entire life, remain quiet now. There is nothing to say, nothing that would lighten the work, and the labor is too sacred, in a way, for idle chatter. It's not that you're forbidden to talk, only that no one has the energy for it. Instead, you listen to the land, the buzz of insects, the creak of a yoke, the occasional clop of an ox hoof in a neighboring paddy. Somewhere far off, a wooden wheel churns water into a canal with soft, regular clacks. Time does not stand still. It just moves in a slower, deeper rhythm.
Not every farmer has an ox, but your village shares a few. Today, one passes nearby, guided by a boy no older than your own son. The ox pulls a wooden plow, its hooves sloshing heavily through the water. The plow cuts a straight line through the mud, turning up the soil in dark ribbons. The boy whistles softly as he walks, a tune meant to calm the animal. It doesn't seem to listen, but it obeys anyway. The ox's shoulders strain, its sides heaving. Its back is covered in flies, but it doesn't bother to swap them. The plow squeaks, the ox grunts, and the field accepts the cut like it's always been waiting. By midday, the labor becomes something else. You are no longer just planting or weeding or shaping. You are enduring. Every movement you make now carries fatigue. Each step into the water feels heavier than the last. Your shoulders burn. Your fingers cramp slightly from gripping the same tool for hours. The cloth of your noragi clings damply to your spine. The pain is not sharp. It's dull, thick, familiar. Even the thoughts in your mind begin to slow. You remember a story your father told once about a man who worked so long in the fields he forgot his own name. Only the names of the seeds remained. The story was meant to be a joke, but now you wonder if it wasn't a warning. You lose track of time again. A dragonfly lands briefly on your shoulder. It stays there, unmoving, until your next motion shakes it loose.
Sometimes, in these quiet hours, the wind shifts. It brings with it new smells, distant smoke, cut wood, or something faintly sour. The smell of an animal carcass decomposing, perhaps, or the refuse heap near the edge of the village. The wind is both friendly and warning. On hot days, it dries the sweat on your skin, but it also dries the soil. A dry wind before planting season is a curse. A breeze that carries the smell of ash could mean a nearby raid or a controlled burn gone wrong, or even just a careless fire in a village a few miles away. Everyone in the fields pauses when the wind changes, even if only for a moment, even if they say nothing. You are never alone in the paddy. Leeches cling to your calves,
unnoticed at first. They drop off when they're full. Your skin doesn't even bleed, not right away. The cut is small, but the itch lasts for days. Mosquitoes hum in the background. Some sting, others simply buzz. You've grown used to swatting them absent-mindedly. Biting flies appear around noon. They love the scent of wet cloth and sun-baked skin. You slap one against your neck, killing it, then go back to work. Sometimes snakes curl up near the dikes to soak up the warmth. Most are harmless, but stories circulate about venomous bites, rare but real. The kind that swells a leg until the skin cracks or turns the foot purple for days. You don't dwell on these. You just keep working.
There are gods here too. You were taught that long ago. The Tanokami, the spirit of the paddy, is said to live beneath the water during growing season. In spring, a priest invites the spirit down from the mountains. In autumn, it is sent back with gratitude. Offerings are made, small ones, laid on a stone at the edge of the field. A few grains of rice, a cup of sake, a folded strip of paper bound with reed. No one talks to the spirit aloud, but everyone believes it's watching. Some say the spirit is a woman. Others say a white fox. One elder claims it's a long-bodied serpent, older than the trees. Whatever it is, you work respectfully. If you spit in the water, you apologize. If you urinate near the field, you bow. These are not rules you read in a book. They're lived truths, passed down like seeds in a clay jar. You feel watched, but not in fear, in fellowship. You share the land with more than just your neighbors. At last, the headman's boy calls from the path. His bell is small, just a bronze clapper tied to a stick. He waves it lazily, and you recognize the sound. It's time for the midday break. You straighten slowly. Your knees resist. Your thighs tremble, but you rise. Stepping from the field feels like surfacing from underwater. You wipe your face with your sleeve and sit beneath a shade tree where the breeze moves more freely. Your bento is simple. Barley rice packed with pickled plums and a small strip of dried fish. The rice is warm from the sun. You eat slowly, savoring the salt and vinegar. It wakes your mouth. You drink from your flask. Tea, brewed from roasted barley, cold now, but still sharp on your tongue. You chew the fish slowly, listening to a boy nearby complain about blisters on his heels. No one mocks him. Everyone remembers their first season. The break is short, 20 minutes, maybe 30. Then someone stands, and another, and another. You sigh deeply, and then rise. The fields are waiting. Again. Even in the deepest corners of the countryside, far from the roaring armies and blood-stained castles of the Sengoku-era, the farmer is never far from the reach of power. You do not own your land. This plot of earth, the one you've bent over since before sunrise, the one your father and his father worked before you, belongs to someone else. A local lord, a daimyo, or perhaps one of his retainers, granted a portion of land in exchange for service.
Or perhaps more frustrating still, the temple downriver that owns hundreds of acres without ever soiling their robes. You work the land, but its yield is not your own. In this world, rice is everything. It is food. It is tax. It is status. Your taxes are not paid in coins. You've likely never even held a koban or mon in your hands. Instead, taxes are collected in sheaves, bundled and dried, then stacked and counted. The koku, a unit roughly equal to the amount of rice needed to feed one man for a year, defines your lord's wealth, and by extension, defines your burden. Your village is expected to meet a quota each year. The headman, himself a farmer, though slightly better fed, reports directly to the magistrate or the appointed tax officer. If the village underproduces, punishments follow. Heavier quotas the next year, confiscated tools, and, in the worst cases, the conscription of your sons to serve as ashigaru foot soldiers. And so, you do everything to meet the quota, even if it means eating millet and barley so that more rice can be bundled. Even if it means secretly diluting your own stores with husks and straw just to make the piles look fuller. You are not a thief. You are a survivor.
You remember last year's visit well. It was early autumn. The rice had just been harvested, laid out to dry in tall frames of bamboo. A retinue of men arrived from the domain's castle, not soldiers, but almost as intimidating. They wore fine sandals, their robes marked with the Lord's crest. One carried a writing box, another held the scrolls of record. The collector did not speak much. He walked the perimeter of the paddies, counted bundles, took notes, occasionally whispered to his assistant. Then he stood in the center of the village, reading aloud your village's obligation for the year. You did not protest. No one ever does. In addition to the domain tax, there are obligations to the local temples and shrines. These are not always formal. Often they're just expected. A donation of grain, a portion of firewood, a gift of eggs or vegetables during festival time. But over the years, the expectation grows. A Buddhist temple at the edge of your province once demanded that every household provide rice offerings for Obon, the festival of the dead. It wasn't much, a bowl or two, but in poor harvest years, even that can mean the difference between hunger and survival. You honor the gods, you respect the monks, but you also wonder, sometimes, if they remember what it feels like to stand ankle-deep in a flooded field, planting for someone else's belly.
Every few years, the borders of your village's fields are re-examined. Lines shift, trees are cut, markers are moved, and always the risk comes that your family's parcel, the one you've always worked, might be reassigned. It doesn't matter that your ancestors are buried at the edge of the property. It doesn't matter that you dug the canal that feeds it. If a retainer needs more land, or if the village next door complains to a magistrate with more influence, your claim could disappear overnight. There is no deed, no title, just memory. And memory holds no legal weight. So you accept what is given. And when it is taken, you do not fight. You simply start again. Though you live far from the great battles that define this era in history books, wars are never truly distant. Every harvest season, rumors swirl. A new general arise in the west, a defeated clan fleeing into the mountains, a castle siege 2 provinces away, and always the fear of bandits, hungry men turned desperate, sometimes former soldiers, sometimes just other farmers who lost everything. You keep a staff near your door. Your neighbors take turns walking the night paths with torches. Some villages pay ronin to patrol their fields, mercenaries with nothing left but a blade. When danger comes, you do not fight. You hide. You protect the grain. You pray it isn't your turn.
When your father died, he left you the same thing his father left him, the obligation to continue. Not land, not wealth, not peace, just the duty to endure. There were no tears, no ceremony, just a small mound, a few coins placed in the earth for his passage, and the silent agreement that your sons would do the same for you. There is comfort in that, sometimes, in knowing that nothing is new. But there is also grief, not for the dead, but for yourself, for the dreams that you do not even allow yourself to name. When the tax has been counted and the quotas met, when the temple offerings are delivered and the collectors leave, when the fields are quiet again, you return to the same soil, the same canal, the same bamboo fence, patched again with twine. Nothing has changed, but neither have you. You still have 2 arms, 2 feet, a wife waiting at home, a pot of millet on the fire, and a patch of rice as stubborn as you are. Tomorrow you will wake up before dawn and do it all again.
You rise with the land, but you don't rise alone. Life in a Sengoku-era farming village is never solitary. Even in hardship, even in silence, you are surrounded by neighbors, by kin, by watchful elders and gossiping children, by the endless rustle of shared life. The boundaries between families are marked by fences of woven branches or by shallow ditches, but the boundaries mean little. When one family loses an ox, another lends theirs. When a roof collapses under a summer storm, the men gather the next morning to rebuild it. You have your own burdens, but they are never yours alone. This is not just necessity, it is culture. The land has taught you that no one survives alone. Not here. Throughout the year, there are tasks too large for one family to do alone. The irrigation ditches, for example. When the spring rains come and the water channels are swollen, the whole village gathers with spades and baskets to clear them. You wade through muck, passing clumps of weeds, carrying stones, diverting flow. A boy falls in and laughs. A grandfather jokes about his back giving out. A woman hums an old tune her mother once sang. There is no payment, but there is tea. Shared rice balls wrapped in leaves, smiles exchanged like coins. This, too, is survival.
The passage of time is not measured by months or days on a scroll. It is measured in seasonal tasks and shared events. In spring, the plum trees bloom and the air smells new. Children chase beetles through the bamboo. At the shrine, small paper lanterns are hung on branches, asking for good planting weather. In summer, the sun sharpens, the river slows, the insects grow louder.
You chew on pickled cucumber to stay cool, and everyone complains about the flies. Autumn is sacred. It is harvest. The village gathers to thresh and dry the rice, and the air fills with the rhythmic thump of wooden flails. Winter is sleep, for the fields and for your bones. It is the only time you can rest without guilt. Each season has its own sounds, its own scents, its own obligations, and its own moments of stillness. Even the poorest village finds time for festivals. They are brief, no more than a day or two, and not lavish, but they carry the joy of something different, something bright. Children wear paper masks painted to resemble tengu or fox spirits. The young men tug a wheeled cart with drums, while the older women dance with fans near the shrine. Someone always drinks too much sake and sings off-key. You smile watching. You might even laugh, but only a little. The next morning, the fields will still be there. But for one night, the work fades, the gods are honored, and the sake runs warm.
There are more people in your village than just the living. Your ancestors are close, not only in memory, but in location. Buried behind your home, under a tree, by the road. You speak to them sometimes, without knowing it. In summer, you light incense and set out offerings for Obon, bowls of rice, pieces of melon, a coin or two. Paper lanterns float on the river, guiding their spirits home for a brief visit. You do not fear them. The dead are part of your rhythm, as constant as the rain, as nearby as the birds in the trees. Faith is woven through your days, not with dogma, but with rhythm. You don't speak of doctrine. You've never read a scroll, but you bow when passing the shrine. You light candles in the family altar at dusk. You know the dates of rituals the way you know the planting calendar. Your village shrine is small, a wooden structure raised slightly on a stone base. Inside is a figure of Inari, the rice deity, or perhaps a small mirror symbolizing Amaterasu, the sun goddess. Offerings of salt and sake are refreshed weekly. A shimenawa, a sacred rope, hangs above the entrance. Far beyond the village, on the distant slope of a pine-covered hill, there's a temple. You've been there only a few times, but its presence is felt every day. Its bells ring faintly on windless mornings. Its monks walk in twos through your village each season, accepting rice in exchange for prayers. Their silence is not empty. It is full of watching.
Some nights, after a hard rain, when the fields glisten and the frogs sing, the old women whisper stories of spirits that live in the trees, of foxes that steal the shape of men, of a headless samurai who wanders the road, seeking the one who betrayed him. You do not believe it, but you do not disbelieve. You leave a bowl of water on the step, just in case. You avoid the forest path when the moon is low. In this world, superstition and belief are not separate from reality. They are layers, overlapping, like mist and mountain, like earth and sky. You do not ask why you follow these customs. No one does. They are older than memory and deeper than logic. They hold the village together, not just in ritual, but in identity. You are not a priest, you are not a philosopher, but you are faithful. Faithful to the land, faithful to the ancestors,
faithful to the rhythm that tells you who you are, where you are, and what must come next. And when night falls again, and the fields are quiet, you sleep easily, knowing that the gods are watching, and that the next festival is already on its way.
Evening comes not like a switch, but like a long exhale. The sky shifts slowly from the bright haze of afternoon to the amber softness of dusk. The paddies reflect this change like polished mirrors, catching the pink and gold hues before swallowing them into darkness. You are finishing the day's work. Your back aches, but the pain is less sharp now, more like a deep hum running beneath your skin. The hoe in your hand feels heavier than this morning. Its wooden grip is smoothed by hours of labor, damp with the memory of your touch. The final bundle of seedlings is planted. The last row is weeded. The irrigation gate is closed with a thick wooden plug. You rise, stretch, and let out a slow breath. The world has quietened. Your sandals are soaked. They squish softly with each step on the packed earth path that winds back toward the village. You walk with your tools tied together in a bundle over your shoulder. The bamboo handle of your hoe rests against your neck. A small clay jug dangles at your hip, half filled with leftover barley tea. Others walk with you, not in formation, not in silence, just together, without thinking. Someone hums, someone else remarks that the frogs are louder than usual. A child runs ahead, calling out for her mother. The smell of smoke drifts through the air. Fires are already lit. Supper is being made. A dog barks lazily, half-heartedly from the distance.
Your home is modest. Wattle walls, thatched roof, a dirt floor hardened smooth with years of feet. There is no lock, just a sliding panel of wood and reed. Inside, the world feels smaller, but warmer. Your wife is crouched near the hearth, feeding rice husks into a clay stove. The pot above it simmers softly. The scent of millet porridge, flavored with wild greens and maybe a few slivers of dried fish, fills the air. Children sit on the floor, fingers dirty, knees scraped from play. An elder, your father or uncle, mutters to himself while weaving a basket in the dim light. The only illumination comes from the fire and a small oil lamp balanced on a stone shelf. No one speaks loudly. No one needs to. You have returned. You sit in a circle, bowls passed around, hands moving without instruction. You've eaten this meal hundreds of times, but it never tastes the same. The porridge is hot, simple, and just enough. You eat slowly, each bite a reward. The miso soup is thin, but warms the stomach. You chew without hurry, listening to the quiet murmurs around you, the rhythm of domestic life. There is a talk about the weather, tomorrow's field work, of whether the nearby stream is running lower than usual. Someone mentioned a rumor from the market town that a new lord is expanding his army, that the road east might close. You listen, but you do not dwell. You've survived today. Tomorrow is tomorrow. After the meal, you kneel before the household altar, a small wooden shelf
near the back of the home. There's a candle, a bowl of water, and a few grains of rice, a folded paper charm. You bow once, twice, silently offering thanks to the ancestors for food, for safety, for another day completed. Your children mimic your gestures, imperfect but earnest. You say nothing aloud, but your body remembers the words passed down over generations. Even now, at the end of a long day, you carry the weight of continuity. Your bed is a woven mat placed atop a wooden platform. A thin blanket is folded nearby, still scented faintly of sunlight from being hung outside earlier. You lie down. Your muscles sigh. Your shoulders, your legs, your hands, all of them recall the day in slow pulses. The room is quiet now. The fire has faded to embers. Insects trill outside. Somewhere, far off, a night bird calls once, then again. The soft breath of your family rises and falls around you. You stare at the ceiling for a while, then close your eyes. You do not expect dreams, but sometimes they come anyway. When sleep arrives, it does not whisk you away. It sinks into you, gently, like fog into the soil. Your dreams are simple. You are in the field again, barefoot. The water is warm, the sun kind. The seedlings are already grown. Your father is beside you, younger than you remember him. He says nothing, just work. The wind is different here. It smells like plum blossoms. In the distance, a shrine bell rings. Or maybe it's just your own memory, echoing in the shape of a sound. When you wake tomorrow, you will return to the same rhythm, the same mud, the same burden, the same quiet joys. But for now, you are weightless, and the land sleeps with you.
And so, as the fields fall quiet and the last light fades behind the hills, we step gently away from a world that asked much and remembered little. The farmers of Sengoku, Japan, did not leave behind grand monuments or famous names. Their lives were not sung in court nor carved into stone, but their hands built the foundations that held up a nation. Their rhythm, quiet, steady, enduring, still echoes, not only in history, but in the values and movements that remain today. If you listen closely, you might still hear them in the rustle of wind through trees, in the hush of early morning, in the simple act of preparing rice for a meal. The past is never as distant as it seems. Thank you for walking this path with us tonight. May the stillness of the old fields and the memory of their quiet strength follow you gently into rest. Sleep well, and until next time, may the rhythm of the past guide you softly toward peace.